So I had to make a video about this because I felt there was just like so much to say, the comments wouldn't be enough. So here we go. First thing I have to address, the term a female chauvinist. You know, that just makes me laugh. Like, feminism is the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of the equality of the sexes. The first wave in the 1920s dealt with the right to vote, the rights to higher education, equal opportunities in the employment. You know, the first wave had nothing to do with saying one sex is better than the other, but everyone should have equal opportunities. And then the term I was just thinking myself, like, why would I objectify myself? Like, where does that even come from? It's just a confusing term. Anyway, I'd like to point out that Justin Trudeau is a Catholic and a feminist, and Barack Obama is a Christian and a feminist. So, do you consider them to be chauvinists too? Just curious. That's rhetorical. Now, moving on about the Bible. To Jesus, women and men are considered to be equals. To quote, and this is from Galatians 3:28, "There is no longer Jew or Gentile, slave or free, male or female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus." Moving on. In Luke 10:38-41, when Martha spoke to Jesus and asked if it seemed unfair that her sister sat there while Martha did all the work, Jesus said, "There's only one thing worth being concerned about. Mary has discovered it and will not be taken from her." Now, I thought this could be interpreted to mean that Jesus did not expect to be catered to. I don't think he expected anyone to be like his slave, man or woman. Next, when Jesus spoke to the Samaritan woman in John 4, verse 5-10, said, "Please give me a drink." He was alone at the time because his disciples had gone to the village to buy some food. The woman was surprised, for Jews refused to have nothing to do with the Samaritans. She said to Jesus, "You are a Jew, and I am a Samaritan woman. Why are you asking me for a drink?" Jesus replied, "If you only knew the gift God has for you and who you are speaking to, you would ask me, and I would give you living water." Then we go to John 4:27-32. Just then his disciples came back. They were shocked to find him speaking to a woman, but none of them had the nerve to ask, "What do you want with her?" or "Why are you talking to her?" Now, I think this shows that Jesus saw women as equals, equal to men. And this is why I don't only view Jesus as a god, but I also view the mother Mary and Mary Magdalene as goddesses. And people can disagree with that all they want. But moving on, when Jesus appeared to Mary Magdalene to give her his message to his disciples. This is from John 20, verse 11-18. Mary was standing outside the tomb crying, and as she wept, she stooped and looked in. She saw two white-robed angels, one sitting at the head and the other at the foot of the place where the body of Jesus had been lying. "Dear woman, why are you crying?" the angels asked her. "Because they've taken away my Lord," she replied, "and I don't know where they have put him." She turned to leave and saw someone standing there. It was Jesus, but she didn't recognize him. "Dear woman, why are you crying?" Jesus asked her. "Who are you looking for?" She thought he was the gardener. "Sir," she said, "if you have taken him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will go and get him." "Mary," Jesus said. She turned to him and cried out, "Rabboni," which is Hebrew for teacher. "Don't cling to me," Jesus said, "for I haven't yet ascended to the Father, but go find my brothers and tell them I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene found the disciples and told them, "I have seen the Lord." Then she gave him his message. Now, I don't see this as Jesus only wanting to communicate with the disciples, or that he saw Mary Magdalene as someone who was of lower importance or lower caste compared to his other disciples. If he only wanted to communicate with his disciples, why didn't he just go to them in the first place, rather than going to Mary first? It sounds more like Jesus wanted to comfort her in that time, after he had just been crucified, right? And stop her from crying, and also tell her his message, and have her deliver his message to his other disciples. He could have easily disappeared his disciples, but he didn't. And I believe he saw them all as equals. I just also want to point out that I also think it's a misconception that when people think they are saved by faith and belief alone. In James 2:19-24 it says, "You say you have faith, for you believe that there is one God. Good for you. Even the demons believe this, and they tremble in terror. How foolish. Can't you see that faith without good deeds is useless? We are shown to be right with God by what we do, not by faith alone." So, thinking we are following Jesus just because we believe in the resurrection and he died for sins, according to that verse, that's not enough. And I think we need to do good deeds, even if those good deeds don't necessarily reward us, in whether it's immediately or within a year or a lifetime. Be a good person. And I also like to point out that in the apostolic church I go to, women and men are pastors. Women and men serve in ministry. They both go to do the missionary work, and they're also serving on the worship team. And my point in this video is I go by what Jesus teaches and not by what the church teaches. Organized religion can be full of corruption, and I love standing in the pews and singing and dancing to the songs of worship. I love Hillsong and Chris Kilala and Chris Tomlin and all those other songs. But I have my own personal view of what Jesus is. And that's actually something they teach in the Alpha class at church. They give you basics of who Jesus is, but who you believe Jesus is and what the personal relationship you have with Jesus Christ, that's up to you. The pastor's not going to be like, well, I have this relationship with Jesus and you should believe the same as I do. You should have the same relationship as Jesus. No, that's not how it works. So I just want to point those things out, and that's all I've got for tonight. So God bless, peace and love. Talk to you soon.